Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and if you're new here, I was diagnosed with primary ovarian insufficiency about 3.5 years ago. Wow, I can't believe that. And today I just wanted to go over some of the frequently asked questions that I constantly get about going through POI. In my year of sharing my journey on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I have built a small community and I get a lot of questions about POI and what I have done, and I just wanted to address some of those today, create a video where you guys can come to get answers to your questions if I am unable to respond quickly. I do get a bit overwhelmed by the amount of questions that I get sometimes. I love being here for you guys and I love getting to connect with you. I am not complaining about that at all. I feel very privileged to be able to be here for you, but sometimes the amount of questions that I get and a lot of the same questions can be a little bit overwhelming to me. So I just wanted to give you guys a video that you can come to that can answer those specific questions, but please do not stop reaching out. I want to be here for you guys. Just so you guys know, my OBGYN does not currently consider me to have primary ovarian insufficiency, and my fertility doctor, on all of my requisition orders for ultrasounds and blood work, he always writes a diagnosis code for ovarian dysfunction unspecified rather than primary ovarian insufficiency. So as of right now, I'm not sure I fall into that diagnosis anymore. There was a point when I was first diagnosed where my estrogen was super low. I was having some irregular cycles where I was considered to have it, but then I implemented these diet and lifestyle changes and now I have a consistent cycle. It is not perfect. I do not recruit many follicles each cycle, which is abnormal. So I do fall under the realm of ovarian dysfunction, but I'm just not considered to have full-blown POI. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these questions. And this is going to be a little bit of an informal video. I'm just going to do this while I get ready. So I'm also just going to show you guys some of the products that I'm using while I get ready. I'm going to start off with the ordinary glycolic acid toner. I just pour a little bit into my hands and apply it. So the first question that I get a lot is, where do I start? I'm not going to be going over every single thing. I have another video. I'll link it up here for you guys so that you can go and see that video. But basically, just to do a quick overview of it. So first thing was diet. I did Amy Raup's egg quality diet. I started acupuncture and Chinese herbs. I cleaned up my beauty, personal care, household cleaning products to make sure there was no toxins. So went through EWG and checked every single product. I slowly went through my house and switched out things that were toxic, like pans, cookware of all kinds, my mattress, pillows, blankets, everything. Just made sure I was getting things that were, there are different certifications for things like mattresses. But anyway, I go through all of that in other videos. So I will link some of those in the description below also so that you guys can kind of go through all of that. Now I'm going to apply the Good Molecules Super Peptide Serum. I did small little things like also castor oil packs in my follicular phase to help with follicle development and using red light therapy over my abdomen, and then also different supplements, which I will get into in another question that I get very frequently, and also working on my nervous system, trying to get out of fight or flight. This is the Bioma Moisturizing Gel Cream, and just trying to make my nervous system feel like it's safe again, which I will also get into in another question. I did like a GI map test and a gut healing protocol because I came back with a bunch of problems in my gut health, and I'll also link that video above so that you guys can go and see that one. I'm gonna do another one soon also, just to like recap about my whole gut health journey. And then I just did like a bunch of blood work and found out that my adrenal function was also a bit dysfunctional. I did IV ozone therapy, I did IV exosomes, and I did adipose PRP with Rejuvenating Fertility Center in New York. I did not see a big change from that, but everything together helped. The three biggest things that I did that changed things for me was cleaning up my diet, cleaning up my lifestyle, and acupuncture and Chinese herbs. Those were the biggest things, and also healing my gut. So moving on to the supplements. I get asked all the time about this too. If you guys haven't seen my video, I'll link it up here. Basics are a good prenatal. I use Thorne basic prenatal, good quality cod liver oil, vitamin D3 and K2, CoQ10. I also take alpha lipoic acid, L-carnitine, and NAC or N-acetylcysteine, and those are really important for egg health and ovarian function. I've recently kind of simplified my supplement routine, so that's currently what I'm taking. And then also making sure you're getting like a good electrolyte. For me, I'm taking Restore by the Absorption Company. They send me free product every month and I'm very grateful to them, but I absolutely love their stuff. It's like a really good electrolyte with added benefits. B vitamins, methylfolate, and vitamin D, and it's also 500% more absorbable than regular supplements. And then I take a magnesium and then probiotic. Probiotics are super important. Right now I'm taking a vaginal probiotic, and I am also taking Akkermansia, which is something that I was low on in my GI map test. And then I used to take beef liver, but I'm currently taking a break from that because it can give you a little bit too much copper. I cycle in and out of that but that's another really nutrient-dense supplement that I generally take. Let's see, something that I keep forgetting to take but that I want to take is creatine. That can actually increase implantation rates, I saw. So that is something that I want to take more, but I keep forgetting. It's also good, obviously, for muscle recovery, but yeah, it can help with fertility things too. I'm taking like a magnesium complex with 8 different kinds of magnesium in it. That really works well for me. And then I also take the Absorption Company Sleep and Calm, which both have magnesium in them. So I am getting like a lot of good magnesium, but that's another really important one. And this was Merit, the Uniform Tinted SPF. Next question is, what are all the things I've done? And I pretty much covered that in the first question. I think the only thing else that I can add to that is that I also did a laparoscopy. This has nothing really to do with POI, although POI can sometimes be caused by endometriosis. So if you suspect that you have endometriosis, that could potentially be causing your POI, because endometriomas can grow on the ovaries. So the only 100% way to diagnose endometriosis, unfortunately, is through a laparoscopic surgery where they open you up and they look inside to see if you have it. I luckily did not have it, even though I had some symptoms. So that's something that I did, but it's also just good. I also did a hysteroscopy just to check inside my uterus. And one thing that they did find in my uterus was like a polypoid texture, which can happen when your estrogen is dominant and your progesterone is too low. And that can actually lower implantation rates like 30 to 50%. So the fact that the hormone imbalance was showing in my uterus, because I've had low progesterone like at least since 2018 when I first started having premenstrual spotting, right around the time when I got bedbug fumigation in my apartment in New York. I also went to a napro doctor. To try and figure out the spotting and like why I wasn't getting pregnant. And they basically, I had to learn how to do all the napro charting and all of that. And I really don't agree with the beliefs napro doctors, but I had to try everything. And conventional doctors, unfortunately, just never told me, look, part of your problem is that you have low progesterone. They should have put me on progesterone, but they didn't. I had to actually go to a napro doctor to get that information. So I started taking progesterone, but that's only just very recently that I started taking progesterone. So hopefully that's gonna help me get pregnant. And then let's see, what is one other thing that I was thinking of that I did? I can't think of the last thing that I did, but if when I'm editing this, I'll do a freeze frame right now. And what I just used on my face was Merit. This is the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Stick in linen. Now I'm gonna go in with Honest Beauty powder and just set what I have just done. So yeah, taking progesterone is the newest thing that I have incorporated. So I do progesterone suppositories and my functional medicine doctor is prescribing them for me right now. I stopped seeing the napro doctor just because I can get what I need from my functional medicine doctor, and they do a lot more stuff than napro doctors do too. Moving on to the next question. So another question that I frequently get is, did I get my period back? And I never lost my period. That's probably one of the ones that I get the most is, did I get my period back? Not all women with POI completely lose their periods. It is much more common, I think. Like POI can often include unpredictable ovarian function. So some women only get a period every once in a while. Some women completely stop getting a period. And I am just one that was kind of bordering on losing my period at the time of diagnosis, I guess. And, but my ovaries kind of recovered essentially. And I do get a period regularly unless I'm going through fertility treatments or some kind of intervention. Then my period will get irregular, but that's kind of to be expected with delicate ovarian function. If your ovaries are already in a pretty delicate state, then any kind of intervention is going to mess with their natural rhythm and mess things up. But when I am leaving my body alone, I do not have irregular periods. I get a period every month. Oh no, this is not the one I wanted to put on. Oh well. This is Merit, the Flesh Balm in Mood. I like this one, but it's kind of intense. I know I'm kind of very light colored, so. And then the other thing that I used is Merit Bronze Balm in Leo. So yeah, I never lost my period, and the diet and lifestyle changes regulated, irregular cycles that I was having before. So that's that question. Do I take HRT? The answer is yes and no. I produce enough estrogen on my own most of the time. Sometimes my estrogen is on the low side, especially again when I'm going through interventions and then my cycle tries to recover afterwards. Then sometimes my estrogen will be low, but I don't take estrogen at the moment. I do take progesterone progesterone in the luteal phase in order to support my lining, because as you guys know, I was having spotting for like a week leading up to my period, and like my progesterone falls in the normal range, but it's too low for my body because my body shows symptoms of low progesterone, like my uterine lining being polypoid and like a folded kind of a texture. That's from too high of estrogen and not enough progesterone to balance it out. And then the premature shedding of my uterine lining before my period starts, so that is also another symptom of low progesterone. So that's why I do that, and in order to be able to potentially get pregnant, because those two things, the abnormal texture in my uterus and the premenstrual spotting, can both prevent pregnancy or just make it a lot more difficult. While I'm on this subject, do I believe in HRT? I do believe in HRT. I am not a doctor, first of all, and I can't give you medical advice, but I can give my opinion. And I think if a woman is not getting a cycle, I think it's really important that you listen to your doctor. I think HRT can be really important in certain situations when it's needed, especially if the cycle has stopped altogether. It is much worse to play Russian roulette with the potential comorbidities of POI, which, you know, you could get like premature aging, cognitive decline, osteoporosis, heart disease. There's a lot of really ugly things that can happen if you don't get those hormones. Yeah, that's my thought about that. Okay, next question that I get a lot is acupuncture hurt and is it worth it? I am not afraid of needles. I never have been. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so no, to me it doesn't hurt. It only hurts like when they accidentally get a nerve when they're inserting the needle, but it's not even really pain, it's just like a shock and it's uncomfortable, but it's not really painful. I mean, I wouldn't really consider that painful. And is it worth it? Absolutely. It's definitely worth it. I've been doing it since I got diagnosed in 2022. I think it's part of the reason why I still have a cycle, why my cycle is still regular. Did adipose PRP work for me? The answer is I don't really know. If it did make a difference, it was not a big difference, unfortunately. And that's just my truth. Just because I had that experience doesn't mean you will. It just doesn't work for some women and it does for others. And sometimes it makes small changes and sometimes it makes big changes. It entirely depends on the woman. Just because I had this experience does not mean you will. You could have the same experience that I did. I know someone else who did. It doesn't mean that you will. And I know that it has worked like magic for a lot of women. So that is my answer to that. And the eyeshadow that I just put on was Rabanne Mini Palette in Twin Flames, and the color that I used is called The Sparkle. What fertility treatments have you done is the next question, and my answer to this is I'm not really ready to share this yet, but I can tell you guys that I have done IUI. I will share like my whole fertility treatment story later. I am not really ready to do it yet. I'm kind of still like in the middle of all of this fertility journey, and I'm not ready to share all of it yet. It's been very hard. I'll just say that. There's a lot more going on that you don't see. There's also aspects of the situation that's not really mine to share, so that's just that. But we did do an IUI back in 2023, end of 2023, and it was unsuccessful, obviously, but it was a really good cycle for me. First of all, it started out really bad because my estrogen was low, so I had to do estrogen priming, and then I started off with only one follicle, but after the estrogen priming and then after I started letrozole, another one came up and I ended up having 2 eggs and ovulating 2 eggs, and my husband got COVID right in the middle of our cycle, and it wipes out sperm. So when you get COVID and you have a high fever, it damages the sperm and it affects it for like the next 3 months, and so it completely wiped out his sperm. And we went to go and do the actual IUI, his part. We didn't meet the sperm parameters. We decided to go through with it anyway because there's still a chance that it could work, but it lowers the odds a lot if you don't meet the sperm parameters, and that's what happened, and it was unsuccessful. So that's the one I am okay with sharing. I'm not ready to share the other one yet, but I will. I promise that I will. I'm not quite there yet. What fertility meds have you taken? That's another one that I get. I have taken letrozole, as you know. I have also taken Ovidrel, the trigger shot. I have also taken Clomid, and letrozole I responded very well to. The only side effects that I had were night sweats on one night. My body quickly kind of adjusted and I was fine. And for Clomid, I had every single worst symptom ever and my body absolutely did not even respond to it. So yeah, Clomid was not good for me. I was having depression. I was on the border of having a panic attack. I got a really bad UTI. Yeah, I think I was also having night sweats. Not a fan of Clomid. I will never take it again. And it set off like a chain of reactions where I got a UTI and then I got like 3 more UTIs, and then I also got candida. So I won't be taking that again. I only just recovered from all of that, and I'm currently replenishing my gut from all the 2 rounds of antibiotics plus the oregano oil and serapeptase natural protocol that I did to get rid of the last UTI. I just used Tower 28 Make Waves mascara in Jet. That's my makeup. Let's see what's going on here. I think my hair is fine just as it is. I'm just gonna brush it. So the next question is, what are my top recommendations? Diet. Try Amy Raupp's diet. Yes, you can get pregnant, and the egg quality diet, and either do that or the AIP diet, whatever you decide to do. Just do some kind of elimination diet to figure out what your food-based triggers are. And again, this is not to be construed as medical advice. I am not a medical professional, so please consult with your doctor before you make any lifestyle, diet, or medical changes to your life. So I would do an elimination diet. I would start acupuncture and Chinese herbs. I would find an acupuncturist that is also a doctor of Chinese medicine, and then I would also go through all of my personal care beauty products and change all of those like as you can. I know it's kind of overwhelming and expensive. As you run out of products, just switch them out for a clean version. And then the last thing that I would do is I would like change out your cookware. Make sure you're not cooking with non-stick pans. Switch it out to stainless steel, or the only two non-stick pans that I trust are Our Place, the Always pan, and then Caraway. Those are the only two ones that I trust. And yeah, cast iron, stainless steel, no plastic. I use like wooden spoons, and I even use like flattened wooden ones, spatulas for eggs. And then yeah, like no silicone either, because that can leach into your food. Metal and wood. And that's kind of where I would start. And then another common question that I get is, it's been blank years since I had my period. Do you think it's possible for me to get my period back? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I've seen it happen before. And in the time that I have been in the space, I have seen and heard stories of women getting their periods back after a number of years. I think the longer it's been, the more unlikely that it is, but it's not impossible. And if it's going to do you good, to hold on to hope, and if you want to try, then I think it's worth trying. It's worth trying to get to the bottom of why this is happening. Reasons for POI, there's the genetics, there is also autoimmune things. So I do have an autoimmune disorder. I have psoriasis. It's a pretty mild form of psoriasis, but I do have it. So I take something called low-dose naltrexone. It's a medication that has been used for autoimmune disorders, and so I take that, and it keeps my psoriasis in remission. So I wonder if maybe I may have ovarian antibodies. I've never been tested for those. And then also like adrenal antibodies. So adrenal, like autoimmune, can also be linked to POI. Also Hashimoto's can be linked to POI. And then let's see, beyond autoimmune, then there's also environmental toxins. That's another thing for me that I went through, was bedbug fumigation. That's right around when my symptoms started, so that's another potential cause. And then like chemotherapy or like getting surgeries on your ovaries can also cause it. And let's see, there are other sources, but trying to get to the bottom of it. And then like looking at your gut health, getting blood tests, looking at your vitamin D levels. Also, like if you've been on birth control for a long time and then your ovaries aren't starting back up and your doctor diagnoses you with POI, I think, you know, I've heard from so many women that they got their periods back and their AMH went back up to normal eventually. So like if that's the case, then I would be skeptical if your doctor tells you that. I would just like maybe get a second opinion. And then again, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but if it's worth it to you to try and get to the bottom of things, I would take that chance. I would find a functional medicine doctor and I would go about doing it. That's what I've done. And then the last question that I get a lot is, how do I calm my nervous system? And these are just like little tools that I use. I have a whole video on this and I'll link it up here for you guys, but basically just little things like 4-7-8 breathing. So you inhale for 4, you hold for 7, and then you exhale for a count of 8. And that like immediately engages your vagus nerve. And like when you're exhaling, you can kind of hum a little bit. That engages your vagus nerve and puts you into parasympathetic state. So you immediately, you know, calm down. And then I use obviously meditation. I use ASMR is a really good one. I have a whole video so you guys can just look at that one. That's it, guys. That's pretty much everything that I get asked on a regular basis. I hope that this video was helpful. If you aren't subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.